Yes.
Indeed.
Indeed.
Ah, there you are. I was about to send out a search party. I've been hearing of a great commotion in the alienage. What exactly happened there? Make her forgive me. I should be appalled that such a thing could exist here. But I'm overjoyed you can implicate Loghain. We must end the civil war quickly. What the Blight does not corrupt in this land, politics surely will. The last of our allies have arrived in the city. We cannot delay any longer. I will call for the Landsmeet to convene. Bring Alistair and join me at the palace as soon as you are ready, Warden.
Of course.
Indeed. Of all the...
Indeed.
There's the Warden, the thief. Be careful. One patrol's been wiped out already. Attack!
Dear me. Hey, what's all the fuss?
Begin the onslaught! Wipe them out!
As you deserve.
Let's make it quick!
Oh, this should be good. Run while you can. Begin the onslaught. Now we get our hands run while you can.
Warden, I am not surprised it has come to this. And Alistair, if you were even remotely worthy of being called Merrick's son, you would already be in the Landsmeet, now wouldn't you? You have torn Ferelden apart to oppose the very man who ensured you were born into freedom. But do not think you will get past me to desecrate the Landsmeet itself. The nobles of Ferelden will confirm my lord as regent, and we can finally put this to rest once you are gone. You say that with such righteousness. Loghain used to have that ring in his voice. He has not sounded that way in many months now. It is not so clear an enemy when it is your own people you fight. What was he supposed to do? You and Eamon were harassing him at every side, forcing him to empty the treasury to fight you. He never wanted a civil war. After Kaelin died, everyone was supposed to rally, come together to fight the Darkspawn without crying to Orlais for aid. He never anticipated Merrick's bastard would challenge the throne and force this war. You think war is simple, don't you, Warden? You only fight monsters. No one sheds a tear over the death of an ogre. Torture is an ugly business, but sometimes it's the only way to learn what your enemy intends. And it is much harder to tell who the enemy is when all of them look like you. I can end the threat you pose to Ferelden. To arms, men!
and so I shall.
My lords and ladies of the Landsmeet, Tyrn Loghain would have us give up our freedoms, our traditions, out of fear. He placed us on this path, yet we should place our destiny in his hands? Must we sacrifice everything good about our nation to save it?
A fine performance, Aemon. But no one here is taken in by it. You would attempt to put a puppet on the throne, and every soul here knows it. The better question is who will pull the strings. Ah! Here we have the puppeteer. Tell us, Warden, how will the Orlesians take our nation from us? Will they deign to send their troops, or simply issue their commands through this would-be prince? What do they offer you? How much is the price of Ferelden honor now?
There are enough refugees in Mybanor now to make that abundantly clear.
The South is fallen, Loghain. Will you let Darkspawn take the whole country for fear of Orlais?
The Blight is indeed real, Wolf. But do we need Grey Wardens to fight it? They claim that they alone can end the Blight, yet they failed spectacularly against the Darkspawn at Ostagar. And they asked to bring with them 4 legions of Chevaliers. And once we open our borders to the Chevaliers, can we really expect them to simply return from whence they came? Please, continue. The Landsmeet hungers to hear the tactical analysis of Ostagar from a peasant. You goaded him into making that charge. He believed the tales, Warden. He thought your handful of men would turn the tide for him. Strategy and consequences be hanged. What would you have me do? Kaelin's was not the only life in my hands. Should I have sacrificed the entire army for his mistake? Do not imagine that you can shame me with Kaelin's death. He was Marik's son, my king. No one regrets his loss more than I do. I assure you, Warden, if I were going to send someone, it would be my own soldiers. I would not trust to the discretion of an apostate.
Indeed, my brother tells a very different tale. He says you snatched a blood mage from the Chantry's justice. Coincidence?
Do not think the Chantry will overlook this, Tyrn Loghain. Interference in a Templar's sacred duties is an offense against the Maker.
Whatever I have done, I will answer for later. At the moment, however, I wish to know what this Warden has done with my daughter. You took my daughter, our queen, by force, killing her guards in the process. What arts have you employed to keep her? Does she even still live?
I believe I can speak for myself. Lords and ladies of Ferelden, hear me. My father is no longer the man you know. This man is not the hero of Riverdane. This man turned his troops aside and refused to protect your king as he fought bravely against the Darkspawn. This man seized Kaelin's throne before his body was cold and locked me away so I could not reveal his treachery. I would have already been killed, if not for this Grey Warden.
So, the Warden's influence has poisoned even your mind, Enora. I wanted to protect you from this. My lords and ladies! Our land has been threatened before! It's been invaded and lost and won times beyond counting. We Fereldans have proven that we will never truly be conquered so long as we are united. We must not let ourselves be divided now. Stand with me, and we shall defeat even the Blight itself!
Southreach stands with the Grey Wardens.
The Warden helped me personally in a family matter.
Waking Sea stands with the Grey Warden.
Dragon's Peak supports the Warden!
The Western Hills throw their lot in with the Wardens. Make her help us.
I stand by Loghain. We've no hope of victory otherwise.
I stand with the Warden. The Blight is coming. We need the Grey Wardens.
Traitors! Which of you stood against the Orlesian Emperor when his troops flattened your fields and raped your wives? You fought with us once, Eamon. You cared about this land once. Before you got too old and fat and content to even see what you risk. None of you deserve a say in what happens here. None of you have spilled blood for this land the way I have. How dare you judge me? Then, let us end this. I suppose we both knew it would come to this. When we first met at Ostagar, I would never have thought so, but Ostagar seems like it happened in another lifetime to someone else. A man is made by the quality of his enemies. Marek told me that once. I wonder if it's more a compliment to you or me. Enough! Let the Landsmeet declare the terms of the duel.
It shall be fought according to tradition. A test of arms, in single combat until one party yields. And we, who are assembled, will abide by the outcome.
Will you face me yourself, or have you a champion?
Warden, no. I'm afraid we can't leave the fate of all Ferelden up to your dog. Anyone with a leftover hambone could buy his allegiance. Choose someone else.
It is you or me the men will follow. So, let us fight for it. Prepare yourself.
As you desire. There you go. Lovely.
Wonderful!
And so I shall.
Yes!
Of course. So I shall.
Wonderful!
Lovely. Well, all right.
I underestimated you, Warden. I thought you were like Kalen, a child wanting to play at war. I was wrong. There's a strength in you that I have not seen anywhere since Marek died. I yield.
I didn't just hear you say that. You're going to let him live? After everything he's done? Kill him already!
Wait, there is another option. Patean is a warrior and general of renown. Let him be of use. Let him go through the joining. What does loyalty matter? We are what we are. The joining binds us to the Darkspawn. You know this. If you were to forswear your oath and flee today, you'd find yourself in the Deep Roads, or the Blight Lands given time. You'd seek them out, or they'd seek you.
The joining itself is often fatal, is it not? If he survives, you gain a general. If not, you have your revenge. Doesn't that satisfy you?
Absolutely not! Riordan, this man abandoned our brothers and then blamed us for the deed. He hunted us down like animals. He tortured you! How can we simply forget that? Joining the Wardens is an honor, not a punishment. Name him a Warden and you cheapen us all. I will not stand next to him as a brother. I won't! Loghain is a traitor. We need him like we need to be stabbed in the back. Or have you forgotten how his being a great general didn't help the last time? I didn't want to be king. I still don't. But if that's what it takes to see Loghain get justice, then I'll do it. I'll take the crown.
Listen to this. Can you see how disastrous a king he'd be? Putting his own selfish desires above the needs of his country? You can't seriously support him.
And I thought you weren't going to stab me in the back. Funny how nothing ever turns out like you thought.
Alistair, compose yourself.
Fine, you want Loghain and the Grey Wardens so badly? Then I'll be leaving the Wardens to marry Honora. Watch me.
This can be discussed later. We are keeping the Landsmeet waiting.
Right.
And now, lords and ladies of Ferelden, there is still a blight to defeat and armies to gather, and I appoint this woman to lead us in both. We will not allow this land be further threatened by the Archdemon. Gather your forces and await the Warden's command. On the morrow, we shall begin our struggle against the greatest threat Ferelden has ever faced. And we shall triumph over it, for we are Ferelden.
You are called upon to submit yourself to the Taint for the greater good. From this moment forth, you are a Grey Warden.
I understand.
So it's done. My father lives, and for good or ill, he is now a Grey Warden. Thank you for giving him the opportunity to undergo the ritual. It couldn't have been easy. He does indeed. And my future husband is upstairs, no doubt glaring out of the window and pouting. He is So much like Kaelin, it's disturbing. The Darkspawn run rampant over half of Ferelden. We are all about to have a very bad day. Arl Eamon has left for Redcliffe, and tells me that our armies have almost fully gathered there. I will be heading there myself. Bring your companions, and join us at Redcliffe Castle as soon as you are able. You have united for Eldenwarden. Now we face the Blight.
This is a nice estate, isn't it? What's on your mind? It is no trouble.
Oh, there you are. Come to offer congratulations, I suppose? Maybe you intend to throw me a party to celebrate my engagement. There isn't any us. There's me, and then there's the woman who spared Duncan's murderer. I'm sorry, I didn't mean for it to come out like that. I don't know why you made Loghain a Grey Warden, but he's tainted it for me. The man is a traitor, and you gave him the greatest honor I can think of. You should have thought about that earlier. But why should I complain, right? I'm the king now, and with a beautiful fiancée who is going to remind me of her father every time I look at her. I'll make the best of it, I guess. I'm not going to roll over and let Honora rule, that's for sure. Well, good luck, I suppose. You have a lot to do now. And so do I.
Let's not spend more time here than we must.
Well, all right.
Yes. Yes.
I'm here to atone. I did you bad with that last tip. It can't end like that. Those noble ponces won't have the last laugh, eh? You game for one last heist? No, I didn't. I've steered you straight more than a time or two. Listen, Warden, you have to trust me. No bloody trap this time. I'd stake my life on it and... well, yours too. We're stealing the tears of Andraste. You care about the history? Don't know how much of a chantry-going folk you are. Ban Frandarel's father secretly acquired the genuine tears of Andraste decades ago, and his son still has them locked up tight. The same Frandarel that baited that trap. So I propose you go to his real vault and rob him blind. Afterwards, I'll see that the tears of Andraste are given to the chantry. We've tried under, now we can give over a go. The rooftops are dense enough that you can jump to the top of the estate. Then you can go in through the chimney. Head towards the vault area from the last job. Right before it, there's a wine cellar that's got a secret door. Go through it and find the real vault. That's all I know. I'll be waiting for you here.
Puppy!
but one world, one life, one death. There is but one God, and he...
Did you want something? I suppose that depends on how much of the kingdom was left by then. Once the border was secure, the army would have regrouped to push back the Darkspawn in the south. There was never any question in my mind that Anora would remain on the throne. After all, who else was there? Maric had no brothers or sisters. Most of the Therans were publicly hung by Megran when he took power. In any case, there's no use discussing this. We have much work left to do. Very well, then. Hate doesn't describe it. I've seen painted, masked lords beat an old farmer to death with riding crops. To this day, I don't know why. Is that hate? I saw good, sensible men fight armored chevaliers with nothing. No weapons, no armies, not even hope of success to see the occupation end. Is that hate? You won't believe me when I tell you this, but it doesn't matter. I never fought because I hated Orlais. This was for Merrick and for Reldon. I made a tactical error. In any case, there's no use discussing this. We have much work left to do. Very well, then. He was my friend. If he'd wanted to conquer the Fade, I would have led the charge. There are men who inspire such devotion that everyone around would lay down their lives for him. And there are men who would come and go from this world, and no one notes it. What makes them so? Your guess is as good as mine. Maric was remarkable. That's all I can say of him. I was hunting, well, poaching, to be entirely honest, when a boy my own age came stumbling out of the woods. He was so dirty, you'd have thought he'd been dug up out of the ground. The traitorous bootlickers who'd just murdered the Queen, though I didn't know it at the time. He was bloody, exhausted, and obviously being hunted. I offered to take him to my father's camp. That's a story for another time, I'm afraid. I've gone on too long as it is. He nearly did. Maric was never one to avoid his duty, and given his preference, he would have acknowledged his son no matter the circumstance. But he had more than his honor to think of. It would have ruined Rowan, after all. She'd be reduced to a concubine in the eyes of our neighbors, and put Kaelin's status as heir in question. So Maric made the hard choice. Eamon offered to raise the boy, and that was that. What do you think would have become of Alistair if Maric had claimed him? He would have been the bastard prince and a continual reminder to Rowan of Merric's infidelity. At least with Eamon, Alistair had a childhood. But we've been idle long enough. We should get moving. Very well, then. Anora always did have a flair for the dramatic. She could have been a bard. Anora is a politician at heart. There's one thing she knows. It's how to move people. Well, I'm sure having you come to her rescue gave Anora no small amount of pleasure. But enough about Anora. We ought to get moving. Very well, then. So far as anyone could tell, she was the undisputed monarch of the whole world. She'd fall, skin her knees, and command them to stop stinging. It may have worked, too. I suppose she was. It's the peculiar joy of parents to be terrorized by their children, however. If you're expecting some particular insight into my daughter's character, I'm afraid I'm probably not the best source. I'm hardly impartial. I think you already know the answer to that. But this is not really the time or place to discuss my daughter. We have work to do. Very well, then. Of course.
Ah, fancy meeting you here. I heard rumours that Redcliffe was once again open for business, but my word, isn't this amazing? Such bustle. The Earl has kindly offered my son and I lodgings in exchange for supplies. I'm happy to help him. And you too, of course. If you have need of my wares, you have but to ask. Of all the strange news, everyone is talking about some brother in Denerim claiming that the urn of sacred ashes has been found. Actually found. I understand the Chantry is a bit sceptical and probably won't get a chance to deal with the brother's claim until after the war has ended. But it's incredible even so, don't you think? That's what I've heard on the road anyhow. Take it for what it is. I'm sure you'll be pleased with the goods my boy and I have collected, and with your discount.
What comes, my friend? So, full of questions, are you?
This is interesting, I suppose. I passed your test. Fate has a twisted sense of humor, it seems. I suppose you think I'm some sort of monster. More so since I survived your ritual. You keep striking at me, and I just refuse to die decently. Oh? What was all that nonsense with the Darkspawn blood and mages then? A puppet show? It seems to me that magic has already failed. I'd recommend a sharp knife in the kidneys next time. Less impressive, but it gets the job done. I suppose it does lack the element of surprise. Well, what shall we do to settle things between us, then? Yes, well, you can thank me for that later. I don't know what concession you want from me, Warden. I expect my word will not satisfy you. Nothing I can say will prove that. Either I will be worthy of trust, or I won't. I think it's time we got to the point here. What do you want from me? I can't imagine that you spared my life in the Landsmeet by accident. You have some plan in mind. What I want? What an odd question. I want to ride back to Denerim and sit in the war room and find no empty chairs at the table. I want to lose, nothing else. I want a line, clearly drawn, that I can defend. I want an end to this war. All of this can rightly be called my fault. Whether or not you can do better remains to be seen. But if you can make this the end, Warden, I will follow you, I swear it. I suppose we'll see how long that lasts. We should speak no more of this at present. Time's wasting. I'm surprised. Thank you. Thank you. I'm surprised. Thank you. Thanks. 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 I suppose I shouldn't be surprised at your success. You beat me. Perhaps you can do this after all. It hardly matters now. I've certainly been mistaken about you before. Do you want something? I suppose I have a moment. Eamon is a shrewd man. He'll be advising the boy. They'll do all right, I suppose. I was trying to be polite. Your friend may get good advice from Eamon, but he's weak. All the bands know it. You can see them. A pack of wild dogs waiting for a bone. The first chance they get, they'll pry concessions out of him. They'll pick at the throne until it's only a gilded chair with no power or authority at all. Because Eamon, for all his merits, is a conservative man. He believes in tradition and inheritance, and would never see the daughter of a freeholder, however gifted, in power. And if there'd been any other heir, Eamon would never have suggested the boy. This discussion profits no one. I may be wrong. I will certainly hope so. By all means. Honora is a good queen. She has been for 5 years now. I am a bit, but she'll do well. I have to say that anyway, for if word gets back to her that I said otherwise, she'll be furious. In all seriousness, Honora is formidable. You should know that by now. They always have before. Few among the nobles have ever been under any illusions as to who really held power in Denerim. Honora is strong enough to endure. She may make a few mistakes along the way, but she'll survive them. But this isn't the time to discuss such things. By all means. Of course. Do you want something? I suppose I have a moment. Of course. Yes.
Yes.
Indeed.
Thank you. I didn't expect the band's men to notice my escape so quickly. I tried to hide here in the woods, but there wasn't time. And now I'm a dead man. You were there in Ostagar. You know how things went. For me, it was either this, or die in some darkspawn's belly, or be hung as a deserter. Better a deserter than a traitor, right, Loghain? I fled the battlefield when you betrayed us. I abandoned my men, and Cailan with them. He was my king, my friend.
Where's all your grand posturing now? At least I took my men with me. You should have grown a spine and done the same, soldier.
Maker, all that time in Ban Loren's prison, and I couldn't stop thinking about all they suffered that one dark night at Ostagar. No, perhaps not. But I've been given the chance to set things right. If it's the likes of you who sees me to my final hour, perhaps things happen for a reason. The king entrusted me with the key to the royal arms chest. If anything were to happen to him, he said, it was vital I deliver it to the wardens. The Maker has a sense of humor, doesn't he? I suppose it's for the best, however. Had I kept it, it would be in Ban Loren's hands by now.
But you said Cailan entrusted it to you.
I was afraid. I thought I would lose it on the battlefield, so I stashed it in the camp. Please, it's probably still there. The key's behind a loose stone at the base of a statue. I'll draw a map for you, so you'll know where to search.
It's not a place I thought I'd be returning to so soon, and least of all with you, Grey Warden. If it's not too much to ask of a commanding officer, just keep your moralizing to a minimum.
The events at Ostagar still haunt my thoughts, Warden. If that is where we are headed, I would like to accompany you.
It is vital that the king's documents do not fall into the wrong hands. As for Marik's sword, it is too powerful to be pawed at by those monsters. Same for the king's other arms and armor. And if you happen to find Kaelin's body, see it off. He was our king. He shouldn't be left to rot amidst the Darkspawn's filth.
Do you want something? I suppose I have a moment. Of course. Yes.
Yes.
Indeed.